And tonight, the 2016 debate kicks off. Here are more highlights from the early debate.
The border is still porous. Until we have a president of the United States that gets up every day and goes to the Oval Office with the intent purpose of securing that border. And there's not anybody on either one of these stages that has the experience of dealing with this as I have for over 14 years with that 1,200-mile border.
And joining us, Karl Rove, the former Deputy Senior Advisor and Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush and author of the forthcoming book, The Triumph of William McKinley, Why the Election of 1896 Still Matters. And joining us, the most successful woman in radio and editor-in-chief of the hot new website, LifeZette.com, Laura Ingraham. Laura, first, your thoughts about the early debate.
Carly Fiorina ran away with it. And Bobby Jindal, I think, is a close second. But it was interesting. It's hard in a room with no people, right? There's no one in there. So you're playing to an empty room, and you're not in prime time, so you want to try to find your moment. I think the bite you played where Carly Fiorina took a kind of a gentle swipe at Trump was kind of interesting. Then she went on and said, but I recognize why he's doing well, and that's okay. What was also interesting to me is that none of them took a swipe at the other front runner, who I think is Jeb Bush. They decided to veer away from that, which leads a lot of us to wonder if some of these people in the first debate are really gunning for vice president or a position in the Bush cabinet, because none of them really took any swipes at Jeb.
Except, though, I have to say is that they were asked specifically about Trump. I don't remember them being asked specifically about
you find a way to make your points if you want to. But remember, the only guy to criticize Bush is obviously up 12 points in a lot of polls, so it's interesting.
Karl, your thoughts about the early debate?
Well, I agree with Laura. Carly Fiorina had a superb performance tonight, right from the get-go. Interesting, she started off being asked a question about her weakness, and she did great. I agree with Laura, too. Bobby Jindal came in second. Rick Perry, frankly, did better than we probably expected him to do and came a close third. Jindal did take a swipe at Jeb during the debate, but I thought what was interesting was they were all putting their emphasis on what they would do, which I thought was a constructive sign. They all sought every moment they could to sort of explain what they would try and do if they were elected president. Two other quick points. One is they were all asked, every one of them was asked about a weakness, which I thought was an interesting thing by Bill and Martha. And second of all, every one of them on one question or more demonstrated strength. I mean, everybody, which I thought was a good sign. But yeah, Carly Fiorina walked in tonight, owned the stage, owned it big. She treated it as a opportunity to introduce herself. The personal story that she told was powerful. I'd be very nervous if I was number 8, 9, or 10 in the poll ratings before the next debate, because she's going to get some movement out of this.
All right, I feel Laura nodding. I can see you nodding your head.
I think when you look at Twitter, you look at Facebook, everything trending on my site right now, people are like, well, she needs to be in the next primetime debate.
Well, where's the girl power, though? I mean, like, girl power is in the Democratic Party always for the women candidates. But, I have not seen the GOP women rallying around this candidate. Well, that's why we don't know who she is.
Well, I think, look, the money so far has gravitated toward one or two candidates, really. And now it'll be up to Carly Fiorina to go to these big donors and say, guys, give me a second look.
There are a lot of women governors, Governor Fallon, Governor
But what does that tell you, Greta? What does that tell you?
Nikki Haley.
What do they think? They think Jeb Bush is going to be the nominee, and they're not going to jump in with Carly Fiorina.
There's not a lot of girl power in the GOP. Well, all right, Hillary Clinton, speaking of girl power, Hillary Clinton came up by Senator Lindsey Graham, said this about her.
To all the Americans who want a better life, don't vote for Hillary Clinton. You're not going to get it. She's not going to repeal Obamacare and replace it. I will. She's not going to build the Keystone Pipeline. I will. She's not going to change Dodd-Frank. I will. Until you change the policies of Barack Obama, we're never going to grow this economy. Until you change the policies of Barack Obama, we're never going to be safe. She represents a third term of a failed presidency.
Karl, comment about Hillary Clinton tonight by Senator Lindsey Graham.
I think that was Lindsey Graham's best moment tonight. I thought that was particularly good. Let me go back, though, not to spend all of our time on Carly Fiorina. She has some really significant people in her corner. Jerry Parenchio, the founder of Univision, who is a big backer of hers, chairman of her campaign. My suspicion is that I know he's been talking to a lot of people. I think a lot of people who took his calls and listened to his pitch are going to probably be now reaching for their pocketbooks and checkbooks and saying we're going to be sending some money to Carly.
All right, and of course, we are standing by for debate number 2, the second debate that's starting in a short time. Your thoughts about this one?
Everyone's focused on Trump, but I think the focus is on Jeb Bush tonight. I mean, Trump brings the excitement, I think, but Jeb has had a number of stumbles. I mean, the stumble about the Women's Health Center, which I think some of the criticism was unfair. He kind of clarified what he meant, but after the Iraq War stumble with Megyn Kelly, then the kind of bungling of the rollout of his book tour a few years ago, I think, again, with Trump's ascendancy, people are looking like maybe some of these other establishment candidates are maybe more unifying to the party. So I think there people like Kasich I would watch Scott Walker, and I think those two together are going to be potentially a new challenge, and with Christie as perhaps a dark horse.
Carl, preview the second debate for me. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, there's going to be a different dynamic because there's going to be an audience, as Chairman Priebus explained to you. And let me just tell you, you have a debate with nobody in the room, and you have a debate with people in the room. And I don't know what it is, but the candidates that I've worked with always got more nervous when the room was filled with people. It's a better thing just debating mano a mano in front of cameras and moderators. So there'll be a different dynamic there. Second of all, I do think that look, the front runner is always the focal point. That's going to be what we're going to be looking at, but there's going to be a chance for everybody else. There's going to be somebody tonight who's going to have the kind of comment that Carly made, or the kind of strong, consistent performance that Jindal had, or there'll be a moment where people on that stage will grab our attention. But again, this is a long process. Cumulative impressions matter. You get to move the needle a little bit, but you don't get to settle the contest, particularly in the first debate.
All right, you mentioned the nervousness. I just want to add one thing, is that last night I heard that Dr. Ben Carson was asked whether he was nervous about tonight, and he said no. And I thought to myself, nervous? Try operating on brains, and we have people's lives in your hand. That's nervous. A room full of politicians, I don't know.
Greta, I think we should also remember showmanship is really important in these debates. And who was great at it? George W. Bush. He was phenomenal in the debate setting. Remember that time where Al Gore kind of walked up behind him and George W. Bush kind of looked at him and it's like, what are you doing there? And just kept talking. There are those great moments when you see the real pro-politicians, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton. It'll be interesting to see tonight who steps into that seat of really being the guy who's the star or the gal.
And as Carl noted, it's a long race. Carl and Laura, both, thank you.
So now let's talk about the biggest fail of the debate. I actually think that it's from Donald Trump. Whether it has an effect is a completely different question. When they got into the discussion again about foreign policy, the Quds Force, Kurds, etc.
Cuds.
And he said, I can't believe he's still saying this, I'll figure it out once I get into office. That's amazing. I've never seen any candidate ever say that. Like, I don't know anything, but if you elect me, I'll bother figuring it out then. Not even now, not even next week.
It's been 2 weeks.
Right? Like, you had all this time to figure out who the Quds Force is since he would ask you the original question.
He should have asked him.
Right? And so, no, but he didn't have to ask him. He admitted it. He said, yeah, I'll figure it out later when I get into office.
Well, I mean, that's worked for him so far. So he really doesn't have, or at least he doesn't think he has, an incentive to really educate himself on these issues. He's gotten this far by being extremely vague about everything and then just punching people in the mouth. Yeah. Right? So he really has no incentive. If you ask me, I think Ted Cruz is the biggest loser. Right? Ted Cruz barely spoke. When he did speak, he was kissing Trump's ass, which only makes Trump stronger. So, and what did Cruz say that was interesting or different or even a good policy idea? Not a single thing.
He had to admit he supported the guy he was pissed off that Bush appointed. Yeah, John But you supported him. Yeah, but.
Right.
You fucking idiot. So I agree. He was probably the biggest loser tonight.
I think that either Rand Paul's weakness, even though he was probably one of the smartest people up there and he was the most right on the issues, but I would say that, again, I would say Chris Christie might have been the biggest fail. Because it was abundantly clear going into the debate that the only way that you were going to make a significant dent in Donald Trump is if you could out-Trump him in terms of attacking him, launching childish insults, cutting him off. And there's nobody up there who seems like they have the ability to do that in the way that Chris Christie does. Like, he is a fucking bully. Yes. And he can't be a bully in the presence of Trump. Carly Fiorina, the smallest person on the stage, had to do it, making Chris Christie look even weaker by comparison.